Welcome, you're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. Agriculture is the last thing that comes to mind when one thinks about Donbas these days. The region is in the middle of an armed conflict and bears huge losses. Nevertheless, agricultural sector of the region was a significant part of the industry, which now is in need of restoration. What could and should be done to bring the agricultural sector of Donbas back to boost? We're joined in the studio today by Farroukh Toirov. He's the coordinator of Ukraine Farroukh's emergency program in Ukraine. Hello, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Okay, so at this point, how would you evaluate the state of the agricultural center of the Donbas region right now?
Yeah. Well, FAO is a knowledge organization, and in every country where we implement our programs, we start our program with analytical work first. We did conduct a massive assessment of the status and role of the agriculture sector in the Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, and we were impressed by the findings of our study. As you rightly mentioned, when people talk about Donbas, we immediately have an impression of big territory being covered by factories and mines and industries.
That's true. A lot of people think of Donbas as of an industrial center of Ukraine, and nobody actually knows that Donbas can boast of agriculture.
I myself was very positively surprised knowing that 2.8 million hectares of farming land is available in the two oblasts, which is comparable to the size of the farming land in some of the European countries. So that indicates the importance of the agriculture sector in the two oblasts, and the statistics which we analyzed from the past years indicate clearly that the role of the agriculture was always important in the two oblasts. It was just overshadowed by the huge contributions made by the industries.
So now, can we bring it back to life? Can we make it come out of the shadow? Because I also have some statistics in here, and it says that before the conflict started, Donbas had 600 agricultural enterprises of all forms of property, 2,132 farm facilities, and Donbas used to be a leading place, used to take a leading place in Ukraine on making basic types of agricultural products. This is some deep information. What kind of basic products are we talking about? We're talking about corn and oil?
Yeah, that's correct. The study that we did also revealed that pretty much all the elements and the types of farming are available in the two oblasts. But the majority, the most important three directions were identified. The first one is grain and oilseeds production, which is quite common in many other parts of Ukraine. And the second is the dairy sector. Dairy. And we also identified fruits and vegetables production being an important element of the agriculture, which has a good environment for development in the two oblasts.
Okay, and how is the situation now? Donbas is capable of providing Ukraine with these three directions of producing agricultural products. How available is it? How can we actually use it?
Yes, absolutely. And now it is a time when we see that the people in the east, in the Donbas region, are relying on the agriculture sector much more than ever before. That is because the large industries of the region and coal mines were unfortunately facing serious challenges caused by the ongoing military conflict. And that's why the scale of their production is reducing. And at the same time, the potential of the agriculture sector remained unchanged. And we know from the history that the agriculture sector is the one which is becoming a base for the population to survive and base itself on during the difficult times, like the one which is happening now in the east at the conflict period.
Yeah, speaking of difficult times, how does this armed conflict affect the agricultural sector of Donbas? And what could the outcome be? I mean, if the sector is going to fall into stagnation, how long is it going to take to bring it back up?
Well, that was also one of the research questions that we had when conducted the assessment of FAO in the East. And the reply is that the findings that we have demonstrated that the agriculture sector, in fact, did demonstrate a very good level of resilience. So it is overcoming the difficulties of the conflict quite easier, quite better than the many other sectors, including the industries. The agricultural production in the two oblasts did not overall reduce significantly, thanks to the hard work of the farmers and the good way of organizing the production. What is missing is the difficulties that the farmers are facing while keeping this high level of the production.
Exactly.
Especially in the grain and oilseeds sector, challenges caused by the conflict related with the infrastructure and logistics are very difficult to overcome.
What about material side of the question? Where could the farmers get the material help for growing the grains and seeds and fruits and vegetables and keeping livestock?
We did this assessment in the government-controlled area of the two oblasts, where the market links are existing, operational, but with some difficulties caused by the ongoing military conflict. Yeah. Like, for example, we identified that the access to logistical infrastructure is limited because most of the railroads and elevators for the grains were linked with the centers of the two oblasts, the cities of Donetsk and Luhansk, which are unfortunately now not accessible. Yeah. So these value chains are disrupted. That was causing extra efforts for the producers to be able to transport their crops through the alternative routes and also through more expensive road transportation, which makes the operation of the farms much more complicated and difficult. And the second big topic identified by our study in the region, which is hindering the lives of the farmers and the producers in the two oblasts, is access to investment, access to finance.
Yes, that's what I was wondering about. Do they get investments now?
Unfortunately,
and if they do, where do they get it from?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, access to finance is very limited. Since the onset of the conflict, it was almost non-existent. But in the last year, there are some positive tendencies that some of the local banks started opening their lending programs in the two oblasts, but in a very, very limited scale. Like on our questions on did the farmers apply to receiving bank loans in the last 2 years, especially the small and medium farmers, by 95% said that no, they did not even apply because they know that there is no chance for them to receive loans and there is no place for them to go and apply for the loans.
Well, how about the conditions of repaying the loan? Maybe those were a little bit unacceptable for small and medium farmers.
That's correct. That's exactly the reason why the access to finance has become deteriorated in the two oblasts, because the financial institutions see the increased risk because of the ongoing conflict for them to bring their money and lend. And that is also related with the issue of accepting the type of collaterals which farmers can give to the banks. Unfortunately, the properties and assets which are now stationed in the two oblasts cannot have the actual value which they had in at the previous times. So that's why banks have to take extra level of risk going there and lending. That's why the level of lending has dramatically reduced in the two oblasts.
Okay, let's just imagine for a second that Ukrainian government and international community manages to deal and stop the conflict in Donbas, and the region starts reviving. What would your forecast for the agricultural sector of the region be, in say like 10 years?
Well, in fact, that was also one of the purposes of our study, to see what is the state of affairs now and to come up with the expert recommendations of how we can use the potential of the agriculture sector at this difficult time of the two oblasts.
Okay.
So we gave the status of the quo as a constant, that even if it will be activities which will be implemented today, the way the things are operating now, still there is an opportunity to unlock the potential of the agriculture sector, use the very fertile, high-quality land that the Ukrainian people are enjoying, and use this potential to overcome the difficulties of the conflict. Our study demonstrated that the level of labor migration is unfortunately increasing from the two oblasts, demonstrating that people are losing jobs and they are not getting good levels of income generation opportunities. Agriculture sector, if assisted, can provide creation of self-employment opportunities for large number of people, and that is
assisted
also one
by
of the...
who? Ukrainian government, you mean?
This also, depending on the complexity of the issues that we identified, we see that there is a role of bringing efforts together. It has to be from the government side to take a lead in the process and be more responsible, but also from the side of us, international organizations like FAO to bring the knowledge and expertise, but also the international donors to bring the resources needed
and
to
investors.
revitalize in the sector in the two oblasts.
Okay.
And we identified the key areas of the three main value chains in the two oblasts to become a focus of coordinated efforts of assistance. One is supporting the grains and oilseed producers with the difficulties of logistics and infrastructure. Second is helping the producers involved in the dairy sector with processing capacities and redirection of their market for selling their products. So creating a value chains and added value for their products. And the third direction is also not less important, is promoting the fruits and vegetables production in the two oblasts, where the potential exists and the market capabilities both inside the two oblasts and in the nearby regions can absorb the volumes of produce. What is needed is advanced technologies, farming inputs, investments, and creating chain of the marketing potential for these producers.
That was very, very clear. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this beautiful information with us.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
That was Farroukh Toirov, the coordinator of UN FAO's emergency program in Ukraine. Thank you so much for watching and goodbye.